The sky above the floating palace was not like any sky Alex Ryden had seen before. It shimmered in colors that seemed alive, swirling in shades of purple and gold, as if the universe itself had painted this place for the sole purpose of showing power. He stared up from the landing platform, taking in the vast alien structure that rose like a crystal fortress from the clouds. It was beautiful, but it radiated authority, control, and danger. Alex had been captured days ago during a raid on the alien fleet. His mission had been simple: gather intelligence and disrupt the enemy's supply lines. But even the best-planned missions sometimes went wrong. Now here he was, a human captive in the hands of Queen Xylaria, the ruler of the Thrin Empire, a species known across several star systems for their ruthlessness and intelligence. The doors of the palace opened, massive and carved from a dark metallic stone that gleamed under the alien sky. They emitted a low hum, vibrating in the air like the heartbeat of the building. Alex was dragged inside by two alien guards, their long limbs moving with unnerving grace. They made no sound except the soft click of their boots against the smooth floor. The main hall was enormous. It was a place designed to make anyone feel small. Columns stretched high, carved with symbols Alex did not understand. Light from the sky streamed in through translucent walls, casting shifting patterns on the floor. At the far end of the hall, seated on a raised platform, was Xylaria. Her figure was tall, elegant, and intimidating. Her eyes glowed faintly, an unusual color that shifted with her mood. She radiated a power that Alex could feel pressing against him like a physical force. "You are human," she said, her voice melodic but cold. "Ryden, correct?" Alex straightened his shoulders and lifted his chin, refusing to show fear. "Yes, Your Majesty. And you are Queen Xylaria, ruler of the Thrin Empire. I have heard of you." Xylaria raised an eyebrow, a gesture that seemed almost like a smile. "You are bold, little human. Most of your kind would cower at my presence, beg for mercy, or lie to save themselves." "I don't lie," Alex said simply, "and I don't beg. It is a waste of time." The Queen's expression shifted slightly. Shock, curiosity? It was hard to tell with an alien mind so different from his own. She gestured and the guards released him. "You have been brought here because you fought against us. You tried to destroy my ships, yet you stand before me without fear. Why?" Alex looked around the hall, noting the patterns in the floor and the strange way the light reflected off the walls. "Because fear is only useful if it teaches you something. Otherwise, it just slows you down." Xylaria leaned forward, her glowing eyes narrowing. "And what do you think I will do to you?" Alex met her gaze without hesitation. "Whatever you can. I cannot stop you, but I will not let fear control me." There was silence in the hall. The guards shifted slightly, unsure if this human should be treated with respect or restrained further. Xylaria, however, seemed genuinely intrigued. She had expected terror, maybe pleading, certainly panic. Instead, she found calm and honesty. "Interesting," she murmured. "Very interesting." She waved her hand and a device floated toward her. It projected a holographic display of the fleet Alex had attacked. Ships moved in real time, showing damage patterns and troop positions. "You think your people can win?" Xylaria asked, motioning to the display. Alex studied it carefully, noting the weaknesses in their formation. He tilted his head slightly. "Winning isn't about overpowering the enemy. It's about using what you have smartly. Humans survive because we adapt. We don't rely on size or strength alone." The Queen's lips twitched in what could have been a smile or a frown. "And yet you are here, captured, surrounded by my soldiers. You have failed in your mission." "Maybe," Alex admitted. "But even in failure you can learn. And even in captivity you can survive." Xylaria's curiosity grew stronger. She leaned back, studying him as if trying to understand how a human mind worked. "Most of your species would have screamed in terror at the thought of being in my hands." "I'm not most humans," Alex said simply. "And I've been trained for situations like this. You may control the physical, but the mind, that is different." The Queen's eyes glowed brighter for a moment, and she spoke more sharply. "You will be tested. You will face trials that break the body and the mind. If you survive, it will only be because you are exceptional." Alex's gaze did not waver. "Then I will survive. And I will learn. And maybe, just maybe, I can teach you something too." Xylaria laughed softly, a sound that echoed through the hall like wind through glass. It was both musical and unsettling. "Teach me? You dare to speak of teaching me, human?" "Yes," Alex said. Not to control you, not to command you, but to show you how we think, how humans solve problems, how we survive in the impossible. A pause followed. Xylaria studied him in silence, her glowing eyes scanning every detail of his posture, his expression, the way he spoke. She had ruled for decades, seen countless species bow, flee, or die before her, yet she had never encountered one who met her with such confidence and clarity. "You are fearless," she said finally, "or perhaps you are foolish. There is a fine line between courage and foolishness, human." "Maybe," Alex admitted, "but it is a line worth walking. Because humans have something your empire underestimates: creativity, adaptability, and the courage to face the unknown." Xylaria considered this. She had always believed that fear was the ultimate tool to control beings. Yet here was a human, standing firm, unaffected by fear, and speaking truth she could not easily dismiss. She waved her hand again, and the guard stepped back. "Very well, human. You will remain here. You will be tested. But perhaps you are more than I expected." Alex inclined his head. "I hope to live up to your expectations, Your Majesty." For the first time, Xylaria felt something unfamiliar, curiosity mixed with respect. She had expected terror. She had expected lies and submission. Instead, she found a mind that did not bend, a spirit that did not break, and answers she had not anticipated. As the guards escorted him to a cell, Alex looked around one last time. The palace was beautiful, terrifying, powerful, but no matter how alien or advanced the Thrin Empire was, it was still a place of rules, and rules could be understood, tested, and sometimes even bent. He smiled faintly, thinking of the humans who had trained him, who had survived impossible odds across countless worlds. He was not alone, and even in captivity he would not be broken. Behind him, Xylaria watched from the platform, her eyes glowing softly. The human was bold, clever, and unafraid. She did not yet understand him, but she knew one thing: this captive was different, far different from any being she had ever met, and that thought both intrigued and unsettled her. Outside, the alien sky continued to swirl in colors that made the world seem alive. Inside, two very different beings, the queen and her human captive, were beginning a silent battle of minds. One ruled with power, the other with courage, wit, and the quiet certainty that humans were never as weak as they seemed. And in that moment, the first threads of a story that would shake the galaxy were being woven. The cell was not like anything Alex had seen before. It wasn't a simple cage or a locked room. The walls shimmered faintly, reflecting light in strange patterns that seemed to shift whenever he moved. The floor was smooth but emitted a subtle vibration, a reminder that the palace itself was alive with alien technology. He sat cross-legged in the center, observing everything. Even in captivity, Alex believed in learning. Every detail might become useful later. The way the walls reacted to touch, the sounds that echoed, the patterns of the guards' movements. He had survived worse, and he had no intention of breaking now. A soft chime echoed through the room. A panel slid open in the wall, revealing a small console. A voice filled the cell, calm but commanding. "Human Raiden, your first test begins. You will face conditions designed to challenge both mind and body. You will endure until you break, or until you prove your value." Alex rose and examined the console. Images appeared, simulations of alien battlefields, traps, and scenarios designed to confuse and exhaust. He had seen simulations like these during training, though nothing as advanced as this. The first simulation began. The walls dissolved into a holographic landscape, jagged cliffs, toxic fog, and alien predators moving silently in the distance. Alex's mission was simple: reach the high ground safely. But the predators were fast and the terrain constantly shifted. He ran, leaping across gaps, rolling under falling debris, and avoiding the strange alien creatures. His mind worked quickly, calculating trajectories, estimating predator movements, and predicting the next shift of the terrain. Every move had to be precise. A single mistake could mean failure or virtual death. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. The simulation shifted into new challenges: labyrinths with moving walls, pits that appeared without warning, and puzzles that required logic under extreme pressure. Alex never stopped moving, never panicked, never hesitated. He observed, adapted, and acted. Finally, a voice echoed again. Human Raiden, you have completed the first test very well. But this is only the beginning. Before Alex could respond, the floor beneath him shifted, lowering him into another chamber. This one was darker, colder, and far more intimidating. Energy fields crisscrossed the room, designed to test reflexes and coordination. He could feel the pulse of power in the walls, the subtle hum. The next morning, the alien palace was alive with a quiet tension. Light poured through the translucent walls, painting the halls with shifting colors. Alex Raiden sat on the edge of his cell, muscles sore but mind alert. Yesterday's tests had pushed him to the edge, but he had survived. And surviving, he knew, was only the first step. The cell doors slid open without a sound. Zalaria stood there, her glowing eyes calm but curious. "Human," she said, her voice smooth yet commanding. "You have survived the first challenges. That is unusual. Most of your kind would have failed long ago." Alex stood, straightening his back. "I learn fast," he said simply. "And humans adapt. You test and I adjust. That is how we survive." Zalaria regarded him for a moment. "You are clever, human. Perhaps too clever to be left in ignorance of our ways. Today you will not only be tested, you will be taught." Alex's curiosity sharpened. "Taught?" "Yes," she said. "Not in the way your instructors teach. You will see our methods, our culture, our way of thinking. Perhaps it will challenge you as much as the test did." He followed her through the palace halls. The walls shimmered with alien symbols, each pulsing faintly as if alive. Servants and guards moved silently around them, bowing their heads but never interrupting. Alex noticed the symmetry and order of everything. The Thryn Empire valued structure above all. It was beautiful but rigid, unlike humans, who thrived in improvisation and unpredictability. They arrived at a large chamber filled with tables, holographic displays, and alien objects that Alex could not immediately identify. Zalaria gestured to a platform at the center. "Observe," she said. The holograms activated, showing scenes from various human-inhabited planets. Wars, settlements, explorations, and survival attempts flashed before him. Zalaria's voice narrated. "Humans spread across countless worlds. You adapt to extreme climates, hostile creatures, and countless challenges, yet you remain resilient. Tell me, human, what drives you to endure when others would surrender?" Alex studied the images. He recognized some of the tactics humans had used on hostile planets. He saw the ingenuity, the clever traps, and the teamwork that allowed survival against overwhelming odds. "Choice," he said finally. "Humans endure because we choose to. Fear does not decide our actions. We do." Zalaria tilted her head, studying him. "Choice? Your species fights against fear? Against instinct?" "Yes," Alex replied. "Fear warns us, instinct guides us, but humans think. We act on both instinct and reasoning. That is why we survive." The queen's expression softened slightly. For centuries she had ruled using fear and control. Now she saw a species that did not bow to intimidation, a species that measured courage not by the absence of danger, but by the willingness to face it. Zalaria moved closer to one of the displays. "Your people build weapons, ships, and defenses. You are clever, yes. But tell me, what is more important, strength or ingenuity?" Alex looked at the holograms again. He could see humans winning battles not because they had the biggest fleets or strongest weapons, but because they adapted faster, thought smarter, and used unexpected tactics. "Ingenuity," he said. "Strength is important, but it alone does not win wars. Humans win by thinking, by changing plans when needed, by using what we have in ways no one expects." The queen's eyes glowed brighter, her curiosity growing. "And yet you have been captured. By strength alone I could end your life." Alex's gaze did not falter. "Yes, but capture does not mean defeat. Humans survive by thinking beyond the moment, planning for tomorrow and seeing opportunities others overlook." Zalaria was silent for a long moment. She had expected fear, submission, perhaps excuses. Instead, she found calm, insight, and the quiet confidence of someone who understood the rules of survival on a level she had never experienced. She gestured, and the chamber shifted. Walls dissolved to reveal a simulated alien battlefield. Small drones moved in patterns meant to confuse and overwhelm. Alex realized this was both a test and a lesson. Zalaria wanted him to observe, learn, and then act. Alex studied the drones carefully. He noted the gaps in their movement, the timing of their attacks, and the predictable routines hidden within complexity. "Humans do not fight blindly," he muttered. "We analyze, adapt, and strike where others are weak." He stepped forward, moving with precision, interacting with the holographic battlefield. Drones fell, traps failed, and scenarios that had been designed to overwhelm him were quickly neutralized. Alex's mind worked faster than the machines, anticipating patterns, finding weaknesses, and turning them to his advantage. Xylaria watched silently, fascinated. "You are not like the others," she said softly. "Most species rely on brute force or obedience. Humans use both logic and courage, instinct and reasoning. You are unpredictable, dangerous." Alex paused and looked at her. "Dangerous, perhaps, but not because we are stronger. Because we think, adapt, and do not fear the impossible." The Queen's eyes glowed, a mixture of surprise and respect. She had underestimated humans, as had many of her advisors. She had assumed a small, fragile species would break under pressure. Yet here was one who not only endured but understood, adapted, and even taught without arrogance. "Very well. Human," she said finally. "You have learned today, but do you understand what you are learning?" Alex nodded. "Yes, I see your empire. I see the rules, the power, and the order. I also see its weaknesses. Structure is strong but rigid. Strength is impressive but predictable. I understand because humans see patterns and act in ways others cannot anticipate." Xylaria tilted her head again, her glowing eyes narrowing slightly. "You are bold to speak this way. Most would not dare. You may survive through courage, yes, but your mind, that may be the most dangerous weapon you carry." Alex smiled faintly. "A weapon is only dangerous if it is used wisely. Humans survive because we think, not because we blindly attack. Fear slows others. Reason moves us forward." The Queen studied him again, a faint shadow of a smile touching her lips. She had ruled for decades, faced countless species, and yet no one had met her like this. No one had survived her tests while speaking truth with such clarity. "Tomorrow," she said at last, "you will face greater trials. Not just simulations, but tests of endurance, loyalty, and resourcefulness. Many would fail. You may fail, but perhaps you will continue to surprise me." Alex bowed his head slightly. "I will continue, Your Majesty. Humans endure, adapt, and learn. Even in the impossible, we survive." Xylaria's gaze lingered on him as he was led back to his cell. For the first time, she felt something unfamiliar. Respect mingled with curiosity. She had always controlled through fear. She had always expected submission. But humans were different. And as Alex rested, planning and observing, he realized something important. Xylaria's tests were not only about breaking him, they were a chance to understand the humans she had underestimated. And that gave him an opportunity. For in understanding there is power, and humans have never been shy about using knowledge to survive, and sometimes to win. The alien palace shimmered under the strange sky, the day drawing to a close. Two very different beings, the Queen and her human captive, were beginning a silent contest, not of strength alone but of minds, wills, and understanding, and for the first time, Alex felt that survival in this palace was not just about enduring trials. It was about showing the value of human thinking, courage, and the ability to turn even captivity into an advantage. Xylaria, watching from above, could feel it too. This human was unlike any creature she had met. Bold, intelligent, and unbroken. And the thought stirred something she had never felt in her long reign. Cautious fascination. The contest had only just begun. But already, humans were making their mark. The palace was quiet that morning, but the calm was deceiving. Deep within the alien corridors, a small faction of Xylaria's advisors and nobles plotted against her. They believed the Queen had grown too soft, too intrigued by a single human, and they intended to take advantage of any weakness. Alex Ryden, still a captive but not broken, had sensed the tension. He had observed guards whispering, servants moving in unusual patterns, and small displays flickering with unauthorized activity. Even in captivity, he noticed the smallest details. Humans survived by seeing what others ignored. The cell doors slid open and Xylaria herself appeared. Her glowing eyes met his. "Human," she said, her tone carrying both command and something closer to trust. "Today I will allow you to participate in a challenge. Not a test of endurance this time, but of strategy." Something different, Alex followed her, curiosity piqued. He had survived trials of strength, mind, and reflex. But strategy, that was his domain. They entered a large chamber filled with holographic maps of the palace and the surrounding city. Figures moved on the displays, representations of guards, drones, and palace systems. Xylaria pointed to a section flashing red. "A faction seeks to overthrow me," she said quietly. "They have hidden weapons, secret passages, and allies among my own council. You will advise me on how to neutralize them. But know this, failure is not an option. If you are wrong, the palace falls and you die." Alex studied the maps, his mind working quickly. "These patterns," he said, "they show movement but not intent. We can predict positions but not timing. If we act too fast, the faction scatters. Too slow and they strike first." Xylaria raised an eyebrow. "And what would you suggest, human?" "We need tea." The palace had returned to an uneasy calm. The rebellion had been crushed, and the palace system secured. But for Xylaria, the alien queen, the presence of Alex Ryden in her halls was no longer a mere matter of captivity. It had become a puzzle, a challenge, and a revelation. Alex moved through the corridors with a quiet confidence. He had been tested, observed, and challenged beyond anything humans had faced before. Yet he remained unbroken, not through luck or sheer strength, but through the human traits that had always defined him: courage, intelligence, and the will to survive. Xylaria summoned him to the central chamber, the heart of her floating palace. The walls shimmered with soft light, and alien symbols pulsed gently as though aware of the weight of the moment. "Human," she said, her voice steady yet tinged with curiosity. "You have survived tests, strategy trials, and even real conflict within my palace. Few beings could endure as you have, and yet—" Alex waited. He had learned patience in human training, understanding that the greatest power often came from timing. "And yet?" he prompted calmly. "And yet," she said, stepping closer, "I do not understand you fully. Most species would have broken, submitted, or begged for mercy. You—" Her glowing eyes softened as she studied him. "You speak with honesty, act with courage, and think with clarity. You do not fear the impossible. Why?" Alex considered her question carefully. Humans often found themselves in impossible situations, far beyond their natural strength. "Because giving up solves nothing," he said finally. "Humans survive by thinking, by acting, and by refusing to accept limits. Fear warns us, but it does not control us. Choice guides us. Courage follows from that choice." Xylaria paused. She had studied countless species, rulers, and warriors. None had spoken in such a manner. None had acted with such clarity while facing overwhelming odds. She felt a strange combination of respect and disbelief. "Your species is small, fragile, and underestimated," she said slowly. "Yet you have changed the outcome of my palace, not with superior numbers or weapons, but with intellect, will, and decisiveness. Why have you not used this against me?" Alex looked her in the eyes. "Because I do not see you as an enemy, Your Majesty. You tested me, yes, but your challenge is not an attack. Respect is earned by actions, not by submission. And humans, we do not strike without reason. We adapt, we endure, and we respond when it is right." Xylaria's glowing eyes widened. For the first time in centuries, she found herself confronted not by fear, not by submission, but by honesty and courage. The very traits she had expected only from her advisors or elite warriors. She had ruled through power and control, yet here was a human whose strength lay not in dominance but in the mind and spirit. "I do not know how to respond to this," she admitted softly. "Most beings would kneel, beg, or break under pressure. You stand calmly, unbroken, and yet truthful. You are unlike anything I have known." Alex inclined his head respectfully. "Humans survive by understanding the world, adapting to it, and remaining true to our principles. Courage and intelligence often outweigh brute strength, and honesty earns respect in ways fear never can." For a long moment, the two regarded each other in silence. Xylaria, the queen who had ruled countless worlds, and Alex, the human who had survived against the impossible. The palace, with all its beauty and power, seemed to fade around them as the weight of their understanding settled. Finally, Xylaria spoke. "You have taught me something I did not expect. That even a species considered weak can hold strength beyond measure. That intelligence, courage, and honesty are forces greater than brute power. You, human, have earned my admiration." Alex's expression softened slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans endure, yes, but we also inspire when others see our resolve. That is the strength of our kind." Xylaria stepped closer, her eyes glowing softly. "You have not only survived, human, but you have shown me the value of perspective, the power of thinking differently. I wish to understand your kind more, and perhaps—" I wish to see you not as a captive but as an ally. Alex felt a small but genuine smile. Allies are stronger than enemies, Your Majesty. Humans believe in cooperation when it strengthens the outcome. Strength alone is not enough. It must be guided by intelligence and understanding. The Queen studied him carefully. For centuries, she had relied on strength, intimidation, and control, and now she realized that human ingenuity, courage, and honesty could surpass even her greatest expectations. She felt an unfamiliar thought taking root. Trust. Trust is not given lightly, she said, her voice measured. And yet, I find myself considering it for you. Humans are not predictable. Your mind, courage, and spirit have proven remarkable. Perhaps the galaxy needs beings like you, capable of survival and understanding in equal measure. Alex inclined his head. Trust is built on actions, Your Majesty. And humans act when the right moment comes, not for fear or reward, but for principle. If you trust me, I will honor it with action and intelligence. Xylaria's eyes softened further. Then you will remain at my side, not as a captive, but as a trusted advisor and ally. Your insight has saved my palace, my people, and perhaps even the balance of power within the Empire. Alex nodded solemnly. I will serve, Your Majesty. Humans endure, we adapt, and we fight when necessary, but we also guide when we see the path clearly. Together we can accomplish more than either could alone. For the first time, Xylaria allowed herself to smile fully. It was a smile not of control or command, but of understanding, respect, and cautious admiration. She had faced countless beings in her long reign, yet none had challenged her assumptions so completely. You have done what no other being could, she said softly. You have shown me that strength alone does not define power. Courage, intelligence, and honesty, these are forces that can shape worlds. Humans may be small, fragile, and underestimated, but you are formidable in ways I had not imagined. Alex smiled faintly, tired but composed. Humans survive because we see possibilities others ignore, act with courage when others hesitate, and use our minds when others rely only on force. That is what makes us human. Xylaria regarded him silently. She realized that the galaxy, which had long dismissed humans as weak, had underestimated them entirely, not in numbers or raw power, but in creativity, courage, and the unyielding will to survive. You have not only survived my tests, she said finally, but you have reshaped my understanding of your species. Perhaps it is time the galaxy sees humans not as weak, but as a force to be reckoned with. Alex nodded. Humans endure, adapt, and rise when others doubt us. That is our legacy, and it is not the first time the galaxy has underestimated us. The palace seemed to hum with agreement, the walls reflecting the quiet triumph of human spirit and intelligence. Xylaria, for the first time, felt respect for a species she had once dismissed. And Alex, standing tall, had proven that even a single human could leave an impact far greater than anyone had imagined. That night, under the shimmering alien skies, the Queen and the humans stood side by side, not as ruler and captive but as allies. One ruled with experience and authority, the other survived with courage, intelligence, and the unyielding human spirit. The galaxy might have underestimated humans. It might have dismissed them as weak. But one human, in the heart of an alien empire, had proven that even the smallest, most overlooked species could change the course of events through mind, will, and courage. And Xylaria knew it was only the beginning. Humans would endure. Humans would inspire. And humans would surprise the galaxy in ways no one could have predicted. The legend of Alex Ryden, the human who shocked the alien queen with nothing but honesty, courage, and intelligence, had just begun. The next day, the palace hummed with quiet tension. Although the rebellion had been suppressed, whispers lingered among the nobles. Some still doubted Xylaria's judgment in trusting a human. Others, however, were curious. Curiosity born from fear and respect. Alex Ryden had been allowed more freedom than before. He walked the corridors, observing the palace's systems, guards, and even the subtle interactions of the servants. Every detail was a piece of a larger puzzle, and he stored each one in his mind. Humans survived by seeing patterns where others saw chaos, and he was no exception. Xylaria summoned him to the strategy chamber once more. Human, she said, her glowing eyes fixed on him. Today you will face a new challenge. One that is not merely about observation or planning. You will act decisively and the consequences will be immediate. Alex nodded. He had survived simulations, tests, and strategies. Action, real action, was what he excelled at. The chamber transformed into a holographic battlefield, showing the palace under siege. Rebel forces hiding in secret tunnels were preparing to strike the palace's main energy hub, the heart of Xylaria's power. If they succeeded, the entire floating fortress would be vulnerable, and the queen's reign could collapse in hours. Xylaria gestured toward the display. You must lead a strike team to neutralize them. I trust your judgment, but failure is not an option. The palace cannot fall. Alex studied the map. The tunnels were narrow, and the rebels had traps and ambushes set at multiple points. His mind raced, calculating the safest paths, the likely ambush points, and where to create diversions. Humans survived by seeing beyond the obvious, thinking steps ahead of the enemy. We will need speed, proceed.